The crystal chandeliers of the Oaksworth Hotel cast golden light across designer gowns and tuxedos. The annual City Innovators Gala was where power players celebrated themselves, their champagne costing more than most families spent on groceries in a month. In the middle of this glittering excess stood two people who didn't belong. Leo Martins, 72, wore a suit that hung from his thin frame. His weathered hands trembled as he clutched a nomination certificate. His bakery, The Hearth, his late wife Rose's dream, had been nominated for the local Business Spirit Award. A token gesture, but to him, a miracle that kept Rose's memory alive. Beside him stood Maya Reynolds, 32, a black single mother in a navy thrift store dress. Her daughter Chloe, 7, clung to her hand, clutching a worn teddy bear. "Mama, why is everyone so shiny?" Chloe whispered. Maya had cleaned Leo's bakery for 3 years. He'd invited her tonight because he'd seen her teach Chloe multiplication using bakery receipts, explaining profit margins to a first grader with the precision of a professor. He knew she was more than she appeared. Across the ballroom, Damien Thorne held court. At 50, the tech billionaire had sharp features and the smile of someone who'd never heard no. His Thorne Foundation was supposedly dedicated to community revitalization, a tax shelter wrapped in philanthropy. What nobody knew, Damien's immigrant parents had owned a corner store that failed when he was 12. Classmates at his private school, paid for by scholarship, had mocked him as the janitor's son. He'd spent 38 years proving he was better than his origins by crushing anyone who reminded him of them. A reporter hung on his words as Damien explained his philosophy. Business is evolution. The strong adapt. The weak are pruned. It's not cruelty, it's efficiency. His gaze landed on Leo and Maya. His smile widened with recognition. "Perfect timing," Damien said loudly, steering his entourage toward them. "Leo, I almost didn't recognize you without your mop. Still cleaning, or have you moved up to baking?" Leo's face flushed crimson. Maya's grip on Chloe's hand tightened. "We're nominees, Mr. Thorne," Maya said quietly, her voice steady despite humiliation burning in her chest. Damien's eyes flicked over her, dismissive, reducing her to furniture. "And you must be the help's help. How quaint." He turned back to Leo, his voice a mock whisper deliberately loud. "Let me give you advice, old friend. Some people build empires. Others sweep floors. That's the natural order. My sources tell me your bakery is drowning. $50,000 in debt, correct?" Leo's silence confirmed it. "A wager," Damien continued, predatory. "If your bakery survives 30 days without bankruptcy, I'll donate $100,000 to any charity you choose. But when you fail, and you will, I get the property. I'm building new headquarters. That corner lot would make an excellent executive parking structure." The crowd went silent, sensing blood. "So, deal, janitor." Damien extended his hand, cameras flashing. Leo, humiliated and desperate, shook it weakly. "Wonderful," Damien said, releasing Leo's hand like he'd touched contamination. He looked at Maya once more. "Enjoy the evening, while you still can." He walked away, entourage's laughter trailing like poison. "Mama, why is that man so mean?" Chloe asked, tears in her eyes. Maya had no answer. The humiliation was complete, public, devastating. What Damien Thorne didn't know was that he'd just made the worst mistake of his life. That night, Maya sat in her tiny apartment, the disconnection notice for electricity glowing on her refrigerator under a cheerful daisy magnet. Chloe slept peacefully in the next room, her teddy bear tucked under her chin. Maya opened her laptop. On the screen was a spreadsheet of despair. Rent, groceries, utilities, all overdue. Beside it, a hidden folder she rarely opened. Inside were remnants of another life. A diploma from Wharton Business School. A photo of a younger Maya in a sharp suit, accepting an Analyst of the Year award from Sterling and Croft, one of the most prestigious financial firms in the country. She'd been a prodigy, the market whisperer, who could see patterns in chaos that others missed. But a high-risk pregnancy, a complicated birth, and a partner who'd vanished into the night had forced an impossible choice. Her career or her daughter. She'd chosen Chloe. And her genius had been buried under diaper bills and survival. A Ferrari delivering pizza. A master architect living in a house of cards. The next morning, Maya found Leo at the hearth, staring at unpaid invoices with defeated eyes. The bakery smelled of yeast and failure. "I'm sorry I dragged you into that, Maya," Leo said, his voice hoarse. "You didn't deserve." "Leo," Maya interrupted. "Give me the keys." He looked up, confused. "What?" Give me the keys to the business. Let me run it. Full operational control. Maya, I can't pay you. I can barely afford flour. I don't want a salary. I want a partnership. 50-50 stake. You bake. I run the business. It was insane. For him, trusting his life's work to a struggling single mother. For her, pouring her last reserves of energy into a sinking ship. But Leo looked into her eyes and saw something Damien Thorne had been too arrogant to see. Fire. Intelligence. Hunger. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the bakery's key. Heavy, tarnished, cold. He placed it in her palm. It's yours, he said simply. If you're enjoying this story of an underestimated genius preparing to strike back, don't forget to subscribe to find out how Maya's first move exposes a billionaire's $50 million fraud and proves that the most dangerous opponent is the one you never saw coming. Maya didn't sleep that first week. While Chloe was at school and Leo baked, she rebuilt the hearth from the inside out. First, she analyzed every number. Leo's artisan sourdough, a 24-hour fermentation process, handcrafted perfection, was priced $2 below cost. His pastries were undervalued by 40%. The menu was too broad, spreading resources thin. We're raising the sourdough price by $3, Maya announced. Leo nearly dropped his mixing bowl. $3? Maya, customers will riot. They're not buying bread, Leo. They're buying your story. Your hands. The craft. We're not competing with the supermarket. We're competing with artisan bakeries charging twice what we do. She was right. Customers grumbled for a day, then kept coming. The quality spoke for itself. Next, Maya negotiated with suppliers. She'd learned that Leo was paying 30% above market rate because he was too kind to push back. She called competitors, gathered quotes, then returned to the original supplier. Your competitor offers 20% less for a year-long contract, she said calmly. I'd rather stay with you. Can you match it? The supplier, shocked by her fluency in business terms, agreed immediately. She created an Instagram account, at the _hearth_story, with beautiful photos of Leo's weathered hands shaping dough, golden loaves cooling, satisfied customers. The captions told stories. The followers climbed. She introduced the lunchtime baguette, a simple, perfect sandwich on Leo's bread. A line formed out the door every day at noon. Within 3 weeks, the hearth was breathing again. The cash flow went from red to black. The disconnection notice on Maya's fridge was replaced by Chloe's crayon drawing of the bakery. But Maya wasn't satisfied. She wasn't just saving the business. She was hunting. On day 18 of Damien's 30-day wager, a woman in her 40s entered the hearth. Professional, nervous, carrying a leather portfolio. Maya Reynolds? She asked quietly. Maya looked up from the register. Yes. My name is Sandra Chun. I was the director of grant allocation at the Thorne Foundation. Past tense. I quit 3 weeks ago. Maya's pulse quickened. Why are you here? Sandra glanced around, then leaned closer. Because I couldn't stomach it anymore. Damien Thorne isn't a philanthropist, he's a fraud. The foundation is a shell game. Donations meant for community programs are diverted to cover losses in his failing tech ventures. It's wire fraud on a massive scale. Why tell me? Because you humiliated him at the gala. He's been obsessed with destroying you ever since. And when Damien gets obsessed, he gets sloppy. Sandra opened her portfolio. I have everything. Bank transfers, falsified grant reports, emails where he explicitly discusses moving problem funds through the foundation. Over 3 years, he's diverted $50 million. Maya's hands trembled as she looked through the documents. This wasn't just evidence, it was a nuclear weapon. Why not go to the authorities yourself? Sandra's face tightened. I tried. Damien has friends in the DA's office, on the city council. I'm just a disgruntled ex-employee with an axe to grind. But you're the single mom he publicly humiliated. You're the underdog everyone's rooting for. If you expose him, people will listen. Maya studied Sandra's face. Saw genuine remorse, not opportunism. There's something else, Sandra continued. Damien doesn't just want your bakery lot. He's planning to demolish 6 blocks for his headquarters. 30 small businesses, 200 families displaced. All to build a monument to his ego. And he's using foundation money to bribe city officials to approve it, Maya finished, seeing the pattern. Exactly. Maya made a decision. Give me everything. Every document, every email, every bank record. Sandra handed over the portfolio. Make him pay, Maya. For all of us. Day 22. The hearth was thriving. The 30-day deadline was approaching, and Damien Thorne was panicking. That's when Maya's flour supplier, Rodriguez Brothers Milling, called with devastating news. "Maya, I'm so sorry," Carlos Rodriguez said, his voice strained. "We can't supply you anymore." "What?" "Carlos, we have a contract." "I know. But Damien Thorne visited me yesterday. He said if I continue supplying you, he'll use his connections to shut down my business. Health violations, zoning issues, whatever it takes. I have 3 kids, Maya. I can't risk it." Maya felt rage burn through her. "Did he threaten you explicitly?" "Yes. And he offered me $20,000 to cut you off immediately." "Did you record it?" Silence. Then, "I was wearing my phone in my shirt pocket. The whole conversation recorded by accident." "Carlos, send me that recording. Right now." Within an hour, Maya had the audio file. Damien's voice, clear as day, threatening Carlos Rodriguez and offering a bribe to sabotage the hearth. But she didn't stop there. She called 6 other suppliers, negotiated terms, and within 48 hours had a new flour supplier, better quality, better price. The interruption lasted less than a day. Carlos Rodriguez, racked with guilt, called Maya back. "I'm testifying against him. Whatever you're planning, I'm in." Day 25. Leo arrived early to preheat the ovens as usual. But when he turned on the main baking oven, something was wrong. A hissing sound. The smell of gas. Leo's eyes widened in horror. He shut off the gas line immediately and called Maya. A fire inspector arrived within the hour. His face was grim as he examined the oven's gas connection. "This fitting was deliberately loosened," he said, pointing to a valve. "If you'd lit this oven, the gas buildup would have caused an explosion. This is attempted arson. Maybe attempted murder." Maya's blood ran cold. Chloe played in the apartment directly above the bakery. Security footage from the alley showed a figure in dark clothes entering through the back door at 3 a.m. The face was obscured, but the build was unmistakable. Damien's head of security, a man named Pike. Maya called Sandra immediately. "He tried to kill us." "I'm not surprised," Sandra said darkly. "Damien doesn't lose. Ever. If he can't win legally, he eliminates obstacles." "Then it's time to eliminate him," Maya said coldly. Day 30. The deadline. Damien Thorne woke in his penthouse at 6 a.m. to 47 missed calls. His phone was vibrating nonstop. Confused, he turned on the television. The headline on every news channel froze his blood. Tech billionaire's charity exposed as $50 million fraud scheme. A reporter stood outside Thorne Foundation headquarters. Federal investigators raided the offices early this morning following anonymous tips that led to a massive fraud investigation. Sources say Damien Thorne allegedly diverted over $50 million in charitable donations to cover personal investment losses. Damien's phone rang. His lawyer. "Don't say anything to anyone," the lawyer said immediately. "The SEC, IRS, and FBI all have warrants. Your assets are frozen. The board is calling an emergency meeting to remove you." "This is impossible," Damien stammered. "Who?" "It's everywhere, Damien. Bank records, emails, recorded conversations. Someone gave them everything." By 8 a.m., Damien's empire was collapsing in real time. His company's stock had dropped 68% in 2 hours. Major investors were demanding his resignation. 3 board members had already quit. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the hearth 10 a.m. Maya Reynolds. At exactly 10 a.m., Damien Thorne walked into the Hearth Bakery. The place was packed, customers, reporters, cameras. All watching. Maya stood behind the counter, calm, composed. Leo stood beside her, arms crossed. Sandra Chin sat at a nearby table with a laptop. Carlos Rodriguez was there with his family. "Ms. Reynolds," Damien began, his voice unnaturally conciliatory. "Perhaps we can discuss this privately." "No," Maya said firmly. "Everything you say to me, you say publicly. That's how transparency works." Damien's eye twitched. "I underestimated you. A mistake. Let me make an offer. I'll buy the hearth for 5 times its value. You walk away rich. Your daughter never worries about money again." Maya smiled coldly. "That's the problem with men like you, Damien. You think everything has a price. Dignity doesn't. This bakery isn't for sale. You're making a mistake." "No, you made the mistake," Maya interrupted, her voice rising. "You mocked a janitor for having dreams. You dismissed me as the help because I'm a black single mother. You never bothered to learn who I really was. She pulled out her laptop and turned it around. On the screen was her Wharton diploma, her Sterling and Croft awards, articles calling her the market whisperer. "I'm the financial genius you were too arrogant to see," Maya said. "And it took me exactly 3 weeks to unravel your entire fraud scheme." Sandra stood up. "I gave her everything, Damien. Every illegal transfer. Every falsified report. Every bribe." Carlos added, "Including the recording of you threatening to destroy my business if I kept supplying Maya." The fire inspector stepped forward from the crowd. "And the evidence of your head of security sabotaging the oven to cause an explosion." Damien's face went from red to ashen white. He looked around the room, at the cameras, the witnesses, the evidence, and realized he'd been completely outmaneuvered. "The natural order, right, Damien?" Maya said, delivering the final blow. "The strong prune the weak. Turns out you were the weak one all along. You just had enough money to hide it. Until now." Defeated, humiliated, and facing federal prison, Damien Thorne stumbled out of the bakery as reporters swarmed him with questions he couldn't answer. 6 months later, the hearth had expanded into the vacant space next door. The new sign read, "The Hearth, baked with heart, managed with genius." The outdoor patio was packed with customers. Leo, looking 10 years younger, laughed as he served fresh pastries. Chloe, now 8, showed her friends how to decorate cookies, her teddy bear sitting proudly on a shelf. Maya stood at the door, watching it all. She'd done more than save a business. She'd restored dignity, exposed corruption, and proved that genius doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it waits quietly in the most underestimated among us for one chance to shine. Damien Thorne was serving 7 years in federal prison for wire fraud, tax evasion, and attempted arson. His company had collapsed. His foundation was dissolved. His legacy was ruin. The 17 businesses he'd planned to demolish for his headquarters, all thriving now, including 6 new minority-owned enterprises that opened in the revitalized neighborhood. Sandra Chin became the city's new director of nonprofit oversight, ensuring no one could weaponize charity again. Carlos Rodriguez's milling company had doubled in size, supplying ingredients to 30 bakeries across the state. And Maya? She'd received offers from major firms begging her to return to corporate finance. She'd turned them all down. "I'm exactly where I belong," she told reporters who asked. "Building something real with someone who believed in me when no one else did." That evening, as Maya locked up, Leo handed her an envelope. "What's this?" "The deed," Leo said softly. "The hearth is half yours. Legally, officially. You earned it." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Leo, I can't." "You can. You saved my dream. Now it's our dream." As Maya walked upstairs to her apartment, larger now, with heat that worked and electricity that stayed on, she thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago. Invisible, dismissed, underestimated. Sometimes the most powerful people in the room are the ones no one bothers to see. And when they finally reveal themselves, the world changes. If this story of hidden strength and justice touched you, subscribe for more powerful tales that prove genius doesn't require permission, courage doesn't require approval, and the greatest victories belong to those who refuse to be invisible anymore.